I am sitting here at Boston Commons. This is my surroundings. Hopefully the speed of the pan does not make Fanya dizzy. So I started this one while I was heading to the Washington statue and listening to the ukulele player. This will be editable, so I'm gonna make sure that, well, here's the thing, here's what's interesting about it. Well, I mean, it all plays together, I suppose. Started over there, went, nah, I don't want to do it here yet, I want to find somewhere a little quieter. Came over to Boston Commons. I was crossing Boston Commons, and the nature of the video is hey, look, a squirrel. That's appropriate. I realized while walking through the park, no, as well as a Cheers, I think, what the real purpose of the trip is. It's not to find home. It's not to let go of the past. It's to recognize that it's okay to make mistakes. The world will go on. If you make a mistake, it's not gonna end my... See, so I was on my own at 17. I've always lived according to plan. We've covered that before. But in pursuing those goals, there was no margin for error. And there never was a margin for error. So in January of 2006, when I was hospitalized, I was given Ativan, and that was the first time I realized just how much stress I was under, because Ativan takes it all away from you. And then they switched me to Xanax, and then I objected to Xanax, so I cut it in half when I needed it, and then I got off it and started doing cognitive behavioral therapy, both self and with a therapist. And that's been a long road, but one of my defining traits, and it may be genetic, is perfectionism. And I'm always pushing for whatever I'm involved with, or whatever I'm seeing, or whatever I'm experiencing, to be the best experience it possibly can be. And so there's a whole braid of life experience that says it's not okay to make mistakes. To be better at what I do, or to make a product that's good enough for people to want to come see it, I can't allow mistakes. It has to be better. Which is weird, because in my teaching philosophy, my belief is you must make mistakes, because that's how you actually learn. You make a mistake, you correct the mistake, you improve. So there's got to be forgiveness. Now I'm playing with my hair. There's got to be forgiveness for the mistakes that you've made in order to learn from them. And I would need Alex and Katie's opinion to find out which of those philosophies plays into my parenting. Because I know it's the obstacle that made it difficult for me to relate to my father. His perfectionism and my attempt to live up to it. Even now I question, am I doing this because I want to do it, or am I trying to prove something to him? And I don't think it's usually that I'm trying to prove something to him. In the educational pursuits I've had, there has been a certain amount of, well, he got one master's degree, so I'll get two. Not the primary reason, because I don't think there's ever one reason why people do things. I think there's a lot of reasons that interplay, and so there's a pie chart of motivation and intent behind anything that people do, and proving something to my father has never been the majority reason to do anything, but it might be a sliver of the pie back in there somewhere. Comes back to the kindergarten math test, and I've heard this story from other people in TED Talks. You got 19 out of 20 right, and Dad goes, why'd you miss that one? I heard that one, actually, it was my story. It's been my story since I was 5, but I heard it in one of the Comedians of the World specials on Netflix from somebody of a different ethnicity. And I wonder how much my kids have felt that, because the major thing I tried to correct in my kids' lives was absence. I never wanted my kids to feel like I was absent, and I may have overcorrected in the other direction and did damage that way. I mean, we all do the best we can with what we've got, especially as parents, and we all make mistakes that our kids have to grow through and heal from, because none of us are perfect parents. I mean, and you don't even have the Bible to point to, because Jesus wasn't a parent, so you can't say this is the perfect way to do that. That's the Word of God on parenting. So yeah, there's no manual out there. Do you spank kids? Do you not spank kids? It's changing generations. So we're gonna make mistakes, and I hope my kids don't deal with that in the same way that I did. I hope that's something I was able to correct, or help them correct, that it's okay to screw up. I took the Boston mass transit system. I took the train to get here, and there's a trophy behind it, because I did the Washington mass transit train. I did a short stint on the New York subway, and I use this train, so there's a trifecta in that. And I was talking with Chris George about it last night, that you get used to it. You're going to screw it up, and one trip you're going to wind up at the end of the train line and realize, oh, I fucked that up. Turn around, go back, learn from the mistake. And that's what clicked through. I mean, I have been so hard on my fear of New York, my anxiety for New York didn't revolve around New York. It wasn't fear for my safety. It was fear that I was gonna screw something up, and that my own mistake was gonna cause the problem, whether I'd get lost or. But I mean, then what? You go, so what? What does that mean? What happens next? You fix it. And that happens on a microcosm, and it happens on a macrocosm in life. You screw things up, and then you fix them. There's a whole line of thought I want to go into, revolves around a Bakersfield, California article, but I can't say anything about it yet, especially if I want to post it publicly. So we'll leave that one there, and we'll come back to that. But did I make a mistake not going to UCLA in 1991? Maybe. That's one that's always been sitting in front of me, but then I go, if I had, life would be totally different. And my kids might not exist, or at least they wouldn't exist in the form that they currently exist. And as my son puts it, we're pretty badass, I'm happy with it, I'm not worried about what I could have had instead. Which is cool. I'll leave that there. So there's some pretty major choices to be made in the near future. But they can be made without fear. I lost another $100 at Foxwoods. Can't really fault the play. I got 2 bad beats. When your full house, 7's over the board, loses to somebody else's full house, his 8's over the board, you didn't do anything wrong. The only thing I could have done was bet the turn and tried to push him out, because he didn't have his third 8 yet. He only had 2 pair. And so you learn that, and we'd fix it again next time. But I got my opponent exactly where I wanted him on the hand I went out on. I had ace queen, he had king 4. There was an ace and a king on the board, and he called my all in and went, do you have an ace? I went, yeah, I do. And he goes, cool. Because I think people were rooting for me to stay in, oddly enough. And then the river hit a 4. And he got 2 pair, and he beat me, and he cracked my aces. Nothing I can do about that. I didn't play the hand incorrectly. And I wouldn't have thought the 4 changed anything anyway if I had. So it's a lesson. It's a $100 lesson, or $150 because I was up at one point. But so what? Maybe I lost my ability to listen to the Lord, to the voice inside me, to my gut, somewhere in that path of survival and trying to keep it together. That's not a thunderstorm, that's a train. But I hear it now. And I'm gonna make mistakes. I mean, look at it right now. My car is parked at a parking garage. What's the worst thing that happen? My car can get stolen. Oh, okay. You charge a plane ticket back home, file a police report, whatever. What's the worst thing that could happen today? I mean, parking garage closes by the time I get back. So what? I take a lift back to the hotel and take a lift to the parking garage in the morning, pick up my car, and get out of the hotel. I take the wrong train. So what? We fix it. There's a freedom in knowing that mistakes are going to happen. You do the best you can. Push yourself as hard as you can without hurting yourself to make it the best product possible. And you accept it. You accept the outcome. That whatever happened because of your best effort is okay. So, I made a lot of mistakes over the course of my life. My mistakes tend to be very high risk, I suppose, because I push so hard that people like to see that fall. When you hold such a high standard, you push everybody around you so hard. Or maybe it's the burden that comes with leadership, that those mistakes carry a heavier penalty, a larger burden. Get those backwards. Heavier burden and larger penalty. I made mistakes. Everybody else has made mistakes. We live, we learn from it, forgive all ourselves, and we move forward. I'm excited to see what's next. The trip's not over. I still have, what's today, the 19th? So I still have 24 days, 23 days. And I have a lot to do in those 23 days, so I'm looking forward to that. Budget's a little bit blown. That's okay. I'll get through it. I've been in worse places financially. I'll figure it out. Buddha will provide. Ups and downs, working shit out. Buddha's definitely getting there, and I see a pretty cool path forward that I'm looking forward to following. But yeah, the trip's about accepting our mistakes. We're going to screw up, and that's okay. And that my life that has been lived so high expectation, low threshold for forgiveness, it's changing. No matter what happens next. Who knows, maybe I'll move to Philadelphia and become a Baltimore and become a longshoreman. If I reenact The Wire, then I can have Chris Williams' envy.